But
Hey, everybody. Listen, y'all. This must be about to be a great conversation because let me tell y'all about these tech issues we've been having trying to get to y'all today.
right.
Whew. All right. Happy Black History Month. We are
Yeah.
still happy to be here and alive, even though we look crazy. My mic is all jacked up, my shirt's jacked up. Hey, hey, hey. It's Dr. Joy, Amber Harris back at you with another Winning from Within. We hope you are winning from within as we are attempting to win from within, overcoming these here tech challenges. We're recentered. Okay,
Right.
so what are we talking about today? We're talking about goals again. If you all recall, last month we talked about New Year's resolutions or the lack thereof. We talked about the stunning stat that I believe it was, we found out that only 80% of people even set goals, which was crazy. And we were debating what was that a result of? Perhaps just that people aren't calling it that, but nonetheless, it was concerning, right? And so we promised you last month that we were going to circle back because while it is
Mhm.
Black History Month, it's also Love Month for those who pay attention to that. I don't, but someone does. And so we thought, let's talk about relationships and how they affect our ability to achieve our goals. So that is what we're going to do today. And so, Amber, quick question for you. Have you
Yeah.
ever felt like super motivated and then you had one conversation with the wrong person and they totally deflated all your excitement about whatever you're about to jump into?
Girl, yes. But then look on the opposite. I've had people that believed in me so much and just really helped me remember who I am and supported
Mhm,
me too.
mhm,
So I've had both.
mhm. Yeah, me too. I think we all have, right?
Right.
So, and I think I mentioned this last month. Amber has been part of a group of ladies who I had the pleasure of coaching in Achieve Global, and every single one of them increased their revenue and or salary. Some were entrepreneurs, some were working, right? Get the money. But when I asked them what it really came down to, I actually didn't teach them any business or tactical skill sets, but we worked on mindsets, but most importantly, we were literally together for this whole journey to where we all learned what each other's goals were. We checked in on a regular basis, and all of them shared that was really that community and accountability that helped them achieve their goals. And so, anyone who knows me knows I'm going to come for you when it comes to success. And I'm going to tell you, you better have some discipline. You got to be productive and you got to have a good strategy. And research also confirms that success really is a team sport, right? 65% success rate when you share your goals publicly and or just publicly commit to what it is you say you're going to do.
Right.
95% success rate when you have a specific accountability partner. And again, we saw that with the ladies. So, who's in your corner? Who knows your goals? Who celebrates your progress, not just your results, which we saw with the ladies in that group. Amber, you were part of that group, right?
Yes.
And thinking about, we had hard times, right? It was like
Hmm. We do.
reminding each other, hey, you've made progress though, keep rolling.
Right, right. I think, your relationships really form the system your goals have to live inside.
Mhm.
So relationships are powerful. Um, and not having enough quality, great relationships, really, or being lonely is compared, which we've seen some research on this, is compared to the health impact of smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
What?
Right.
Ooh. So we need peace.
Yes. Relationships are not an option. We need people. It's just which ones we need. Right.
Mhm.
So, ultimately, relationships affect your stress, your energy, your resilience, which really directly impacts your follow through on your goals.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, obviously, relationships can fuel your growth, right?
Mhm.
Or drain your motivation. It can increase your confidence or trigger self doubt. And then it also can strengthen your discipline, or sabotage your consistency.
Mhm.
So definitely relationships affect everything our whole life.
Mhm,
And this is why we're talking about it.
mhm,
So
mhm, mhm.
let's do a quick check-in
All
since we're
right.
talking about the relationships. Um, let's see how your relationships are doing. What's your relationship impact temperature? So,
Okay.
sis, so on a scale from 1 to 10, how supported do you feel in this season of your life? So maybe 1 feeling like alone in your goals, and then 10 feeling like I'm so encouraged, challenged, and supported. Which one
Man,
would you?
I'm at a 10, and I got to give a shout out to you, Amber. When I first met you, my relationship success really wasn't that strong, and so that was many years ago, and it's come such a long way. And you and all of the ladies that we work with on a regular basis in Achieve Global. So and I one of the things I love about it is that not only am I helping others with achieving their goals and supporting them in that, but they help me. And so I'm on a 10 in this one, which I'm happy about. Because if you ask me some other stuff, I might not. But I'm doing
Yes,
good.
I
What
love
about you?
it.
What's your relationship impact temperature? I know you are the queen of relationships. So what say you?
I definitely say I'm a 10 because my relationships I have worked to flourish, right?
Mhm.
And some people I had to not flourish and let them just
Mhm.
weed them out, right? So I definitely say I'm a 10, but that's because I've done work in this area.
Mhm.
I know,
Mhm.
same with you. We've done work. This is why we're talking about it. We've done
Yeah.
work and we know its impact on all the things that we want to do, and all the success we have in our life. Those relationships are key in that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, when we think about relationships, there's kind of like four zones that shape our goal success that we're going to go over, right? So,
Yeah.
Amber, give us kind of a layout of the four zones we're going to cover.
Obviously, we friends, then your family, your significant other, your romantic partner, whatever the case, whoever that is, and then
Your boo
coworkers or lack. I mean, it might not be right, or maybe not. I mean, and then coworkers. Those are all four areas or four zones that we have to pay attention to and focus on when we're
friend.
talking about reaching our goals and what success looks like in our life.
Gotcha. All right, so let's look at them. We're going to look at each zone, remembering that all of them have the ability to either support or strengthen or strain or sabotage your ability to reach your goals. So, since we're on here as friends, let's kick off with supportive friends. So, we know, when you've got a really supportive friendship, your friend is going to encourage consistency,
Mm-hmm.
for you to be consistent, right, in working towards your goals. Your friend is going to celebrate your progress, and your friend is going to normalize even setbacks, right? Which you've helped me a lot with, Amber, where I'm like, I was rolling, but then I hit a bump, I'm struggle bus. And the friend says, hey, it's cool. That happens. What are you gonna do to get back on the hump, or
Mm-hmm.
off the hump and onto, over the challenge and keep
Right.
pushing, right? Those are some of the things that we know supportive friends do. Amber, any thoughts for you on supportive friends and how they show up for us?
I think one of the biggest things is looking at it, and when you share something with your friend, does it feel energizing? You're like you're talking to, you get excited about it, or do you
Mhm,
feel kind of exposed to it?
mhm,
You're like, oh, I
mhm,
shared that, and the feedback you got wasn't what you were thinking. So now you feel like, oh, maybe
mhm,
I shouldn't have shared that.
mhm.
So to me, pay attention to
So
that.
the
How?
good ones show you energy. Show you energy. You feel energy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about family. And before we get into, obviously everyone listening to this is an adult, and so we'll be talking about family through the lens more than likely of like your adult siblings, your parents, whatnot. But Amber and I are both licensed clinicians, so we know a thing or two about how family affects you as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And so on the positive end, when you've grown up in a family with super positive dynamics, then you probably are building on top of what was given to you as a child. I know for me, I was taught that I could do and be anything. And my parents were really serious about saying that to me so much. I think I might have taken it a little further than they thought they meant. Like, I really think. I can do anything, right? And so if you've got a family that started off that way, then more than likely in adulthood, they're continuing to be that support to you. And so when you have a strong family, quality relationships, they're going to reinforce positive beliefs that you have about yourself and your abilities. They're going to offer a space that's emotionally safe if you're going through challenges. And they're going to overall encourage your growth, right? And Amber, I know you have a super strong family. For me, I feel like my family support was much stronger in my youth than it was in adulthood. But yours, I mean, you guys, I love being around your family. Amber, tell me about how family has been positive for you and it's helpful to you in your reaching your goals.
I think one of the biggest things is our family continues to grow. We have not stayed the same. And so things we might have known in our childhood is not who we are today. And as a whole, we continue to grow and encourage each other. So to me, that's a big part is we can't stay that little, like I can't stay little Amber, or my other sister can't stay little Desiree. We are grown now, and the way we interact with each other is different, and the way we support each other is different. So we know that we're always growing and shaping, and so that has been a big part of that. And then, like you said, the foundation of knowing, one of the things my parents taught me is that you have your sister's back no matter what. And so that was the non-judgmental. It doesn't matter what's happened. You meet them where they are and encourage them. And that has been our foundation in our whole family. So
love it, love it. So let's talk about boo things, spouses, partners. I know we got a lot of identifiers for that, but y'all know what I'm talking about. Boo things. Some keys to positive relationships and how boo things can help you reach your goals. I think this is a huge one in that they will adjust with you, right? So one thing about growing is that if you're in a relationship, ideally the other person is growing with you, and you may not be on the exact same path, but you understand that growth means change and they're adjusting as you're adjusting. They also help you kind of protect your focus. So if you said, I'm trying to write a book right now, then they're like, hey, I'm getting ready to go to the store for a couple hours so you can have time alone to work on your book. And they're also, just like friends, encouraging your growth.
Right.
What are some things you would add? I know you looked at some research on or relationships and boo things and how they support our goals. What did you find, Amber?
I mean, it impacts it greatly. I mean, if your partner is supporting you and encouraging you, then you're more likely to get that goal accomplished. I remember for me when my when I was in relationship, when I was in a relationship, my ex worked out a lot. And when I went to work, it was such more. When I would see him get up, I'm like, well, I'm getting up too. And so we would encourage each other when we were really on that workout journey because, oh, you're going here, okay. And we really could do that. It's important to just know love should not compete with your growth. Right. I just want to know, tell y'all, healthy love expands you. Unhealthy love shrinks you. So just thinking about, does your significant other expand you? Do they make you like, you got this, encourage you? Are they doing it with you? Are they, like you said, taking that break? Or no? And we'll talk about the or no's later.
We're going to get to the or no's in a minute.
Later, but thinking about that, but it's more likely you will if they contribute to your goal that you're gonna reach it.
Huge. And we're gonna talk about the ordinals in a minute. All right, colleagues. Now, I when I was in corporate world, I definitely stayed in my own lane a lot. I still do, but when you think about how much we work, you spend more time at work than really anywhere else in life. So I'm not necessarily one who's going to go as far as saying, quote unquote, having friends at work. I'm real cautious on that. I know we all have our own opinions, but when you have quality relationship with colleagues, it really does make a huge difference, right? You can collaborate with them. You can partner with them. It can be helpful from a delegation and a shared task perspective, because most of us are carrying a lot of weight and responsibility. So when you have those quality relationships at work, they help you get stuff done. You help them get stuff done. They can also be great with providing reliable, relatable feedback. I think about sometimes we want to come home and talk to our partners about stuff to do with work, but they don't really have the context, right?
Right.
So if you have folks at work who obviously they work with you, they're in that same environment, and you're sharing about work related stuff,
Mhm.
they can be really quality, and not just giving you any feedback, but giving you the kind of feedback that is informed, right? Because they're in
Right.
that space with you, especially if you're talking about stuff to do with the work environment that you both are in. And
Mhm.
then they also can provide accountability, which anyone can, but especially if you're working on goals that are work related with other folks who are also working there. I think accountability is a huge value piece that, when you can connect with someone at work, you can
Mhm.
kind of stay on track with each other, which we do even in business, right?
Right. Right. They talk about, it's so crazy that because we work together now, right? That they talk about in some research we looked at is that if you have a best friend at work, hey, um, it's linked to your commitment and your outcomes and your
Mhm.
motivation to get things done. And so, and really that goes back to feeling like you belong. So if you go
Mhm.
to a place where you feel like you belong, you're more likely to get things done and enjoy your work because you feel like you belong. So
Mhm. Yeah.
think about that.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, for me, if you ask my advice, I'd be cautious if especially if you're working in like a structured environment, and even otherwise. But anywho, so let's talk about why I would say that. Let's talk about colleagues on the flip side. If you got undermining colleagues,
Mm,
and sometimes it's not a matter of like being toxic, right? There are some who literally are in that frame of competing and comparing,
mhm,
and either you can push that off, or you start to feel like you need to dim your light so that you're not too successful and causing other people to be uncomfortable. You could also have those people who facilitate the gossip and the
mhm,
toxicity of who's doing what, who was talking to who, so and so is not doing their work, right? And so just the energy itself can
right.
start to throw you off, even if you're working on goals that have nothing to do with the folks you're working with. If you're around folks who have that funky energy, it's going to come and start to impact you. But you could have somebody at work who you would call a friend, or someone you're cool with, but they could
Mhm,
distract you, right?
right.
If
Right.
you're not understanding when it's time to shut down, leave you alone, or encourage you to get focused, it could be that they're not necessarily toxic or quote unquote someone you want to fully stay away from. But if there's someone who knows you're working on a goal, but tends to, hey girl, you want to leave work early so we can do a thing, and like that you've got to leave work early so you can go work on a goal that you have, or get to the gym, then that can be an issue too.
Mhm.
Amber, I know you looked at some research on sort of the social undermining that happens at work. What did you find on some of the stress that can cause?
Well, I mean, obviously, it's going to increase stress, and then you're less likely to perform well. So if you're stressed out, you don't go back to the other side. You don't feel like you belong. So you're like, oh, I'm here. You're not motivated to complete things, and you just can't thrive, right? Because your environment's not
Mhm.
great, and the people
Mhm.
you're with are not encouraging.
Mhm.
So and sometimes you can't change that. You
Yeah.
know,
Yep. Yeah. And we're going to get to that in a minute about some solutions, y'all. We're just trying to
right.
kind of talk through what does it look like when you have a quality relationship in any of these zones versus not. So that's why for me, I've always been cautious about the crossover of work and pleasure, because
Mhm,
it's hard to know who that relationship can be with. And if you go too far into a relationship
mhm,
with someone you're in work or business with, and then it doesn't go well, it's really hard to get that back tightened up and boundaried out, because it's just hard to pull it back in, like unshare, right? So I've just always been cautious. But let's talk about the boo things, right? So, and obviously, ideally, if you have a boo thing that is not good for you, you don't have them anymore. But the truth of the matter is, if we're going to be honest, a lot of us stay in dating relationships or even marriages, perhaps too long, that are not helpful. And some of those things that look like is criticism.
Hmm.
There, and the flip opposite of what we said earlier, where, oh, yep, look at you. You keep saying you're going to do big things, but once again, you've fallen short,
Right.
or I try to tell you you're not that good at that, or things of that nature. And similar to what I mentioned with the colleague, if they're tempting you away from your goals, right? So you need to get up early because you want to work out, you want to lose weight, you want to be fitter, you want to have more energy, and they're constant. I mean, every now and then, of course, you stay in bed with your boo because you love them, but more times than not, they should be pushing you to say, hey, listen, I love you, and I would love a little more time with you, but I want to support you in what you need to do. So let me push you towards that versus pulling you away.
Hmm.
Or just folks that are minimizing, like, yeah, I mean, you be saying that you're serious about it, but I know that I haven't seen you do much.
Right.
Right? So, and again, sadly, we tend to stay in relationships. So I want to say this is obvious, but it's not, it's not. For whatever reason, we have our reasons why we end up staying in relationships that don't support us. Amber, what are your thoughts on some of those undermining behaviors we can see in our love relationships?
I think one of the biggest things is those temptations. Like, because if you say you are trying to work out and then they're like, no, but let's go to dinner and let's go.
Mhm.
And then so you're like, oh, do I want to go to dinner? And they know that you're trying to really work hard on this. And so it's, and they know that they know you. A lot of times they're like, okay, so they're going to do this for so long. Instead of saying, how can I support you? They're encouraging you to kind of get off the wagon there. And so it's really, and that also is important for us to communicate that and what we
Mhm.
need
Mhm.
to.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
a lot of times people don't know how to support us unless
Mhm.
we say something. So
Mhm.
when they are being, you know, they're criticizing you, are we paying attention and like, what do I need to do differently?
Mhm.
Or are they, anyway.
Yeah,
I'm,
yeah,
I'm going
that's a good
now
point,
I'm
though.
going into solutions, and
I
I'm
know you like
moving
to
to
skip ahead.
solutions. I'm trying to get there.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, I think you made a good point, though, because sometimes we might think someone's being critical, but it's just their quote unquote love language is different.
Hmm.
We've heard the term mansplaining sometimes. I think even a specific example is talking with men who, I think when they explain things, they really are trying to help, but sometimes it doesn't come off that way, either in the way they're saying it, or it's that we're not really trying to have you give us an answer. We're trying to have you
Right,
just listen, right? And maybe ask us questions versus give us answers to help us figure stuff out. So,
right.
I think important to understand, again, I don't think this is not necessarily a list to figure out who's good or who's bad, or
Hmm.
you should eliminate or keep, which we're going to get into in a second. How do you kind of evaluate it? Some of it could be, maybe I need to think about who should be in my life, but some of it isn't that simple. It could just be that you need to help them understand you, or help you understand yourself, quite frankly, as it
Right.
relates to what you need in the way of support. Amber, what are your thoughts on some of the things that we see in unhealthy family relationships?
Um, so, often in the family relationships, we are triggered by guilt, right? That is something that comes up, and which reinforces old narratives. So, and then sometimes, the family might be resistant to change.
Mm,
So you're seeing all of those pieces when you're talking about how it can, relationships can negatively impact your
mm.
growth and your success. So,
So tell me more. What do you mean by trigger guilt?
so for me, for example, I was a person that was taught, or I want to say taught. How I grew up was a little scarcity mindset. Well, so the way I functioned was spend your money. You might as well spend it. You might, or the savings I wasn't thinking about savings. None of those things. Because I didn't have anything. So, if you don't have anything, I'm used to not having. And so that really, impacted then how I function as an adult. And so for me later to change that started to make me feel a little guilty. Like,
you mean change it as in start to actually have some money and some savings?
right. And then, or being able to do the things I never were able to do before. Now I'm making moves and people are looking like, well, what are you doing? Right. And so I think, that made me feel guilty. Like I shouldn't be doing that. Or should I tell them, I'm making more money, all those things, you know, um, and in reality, you should, because that helps change your mindset and a whole other thing. But I felt guilty first. I was feeling really guilty. So
yeah, I could do a whole recording on negative family relationships. Unfortunately, one of the things that I've come across too is, family not being happy for you for whatever reason, and creating a narrative about you that makes them feel better about their reality that's not actually true.
right.
But I have had to figure out that the narrative that family may create about me is theirs, and they do get to create whichever narrative they want. That is their right to do that, but I don't have to subscribe to their narrative, right? But I think that's an example of how unhealthy family relationships can certainly affect not only emotionally, but your ability then to create goals. And so, for me, I've had to set some boundaries, and sometimes they're boundaries and sometimes it's straight up cutting them off.
Right.
I mean, I don't think the answer to everything is to shut people out and off. However, sometimes even family, like this whole idea that blood is thicker than water, I don't subscribe to. It would be nice for blood to be thicker than water, but the reality is sometimes the folks we were born with the same DNA, comparable DNA, are not the peeps, right? It's the ones you choose who really are the ones. So again, without getting in too much into solutions, which we're about to cross over into shortly, I'm I have a lot to say on the reality of negative family relationships. And I think the hardest thing about family relationships is that, the world says you should honor your family no matter what. Our culture says you should honor your family no matter what. Even when you say your family told you no matter what, support your sisters. And I'm like, I mean, you guys turned out well with that in that, but I'm sure you've had some moments perhaps where you've had to lean back a little bit. But I think it becomes hard to separate out where the line is for being patient with folks because they're family versus realizing that you still have to make choices that ensure you're healthy and that you're able to get where you're going. So we won't go any deeper than that for now, but y'all call me if you want to know about the harder side of family. And lastly, again, obviously, we talked about good friendships and, not everyone has had good friendships. Again, for me, I had friendships earlier in life that I realized were, it was when I was younger and we were going out all the time. But I realized if we weren't going out to happy hour and stuff, I don't know how much of a friendship it really was. So, I think sometimes it's hard to sort that through. But if you don't have supportive friends, they can be unsupportive in the fact that they minimize your goal. They kind of, say, that's not really that big of a deal. I don't see why you're putting that much effort into that. Or they could, as we talked about, workforce friends, they could be comparing and competing. Or again, they could distract you from discipline, just like everyone else we mentioned, where again, they know that you are working towards good health. And I ain't gonna lie, when you I don't know what you said earlier about eating journeys, but like for some reason it made me really want cheesecake right now, which clearly I don't need. And so as a friend, you should be saying, Liz, you're supposed to be bringing sexy back. So, or, sometimes it's Liz, you've done really well. Sometimes you need to give yourself a moment. But Amber, thoughts on unsupportive friends and maybe how that has played out for you?
I think one of the biggest things is when you grow, sometimes your friendships have to grow. And so that, and it's not and I would say it has to be intentional. One of the things we just was talking about, sometimes these other relationships that we might not be able to cut, deal with the work relationships right now. With any of these other ones. One thing I know for sure, we can be intentional about our friendships. And so for me, if it's a comparison, if they're comparing your stories, or they're distracting you from something that is important to you, they may not be your friend. They might not be your friend, boo. They may not be, because because a true friend is going to have your back, and having your back is, sis, that ain't right, or
Yeah.
sis, you got this. It's going to be having those hard conversations, all of those pieces. And so it has to be intentional, and it has to be encouraging, and it has to be supported. So to me, that's one of the areas that we can decide.
Yeah, yeah,
Easier.
yeah. 'Cause you can't. Yeah, you're right. We have much more flexibility in that than some of the other ones.
Right.
All right, so let's get to solutions because we love to hang out in solution land. Amber, you do a great job of kind of thinking through questions we can ask, and as we were talking, I'm thinking about the fact that this isn't so clear cut to be able to tell like where your relationships land. uh, Kind of help us through maybe considering a relationship audit that folks that are listening can activate and really kind of help sort through who's who within all this.
Right. So I encourage y'all to. I've done this activity. It's interesting with adults, with young people, and I tell people to get 10 postcards, 10 pieces of paper, and you write down the 10 people you spend the most time with in your life. All right, write them down. Don't do anything. Just write them down. No, we ain't doing nothing with them yet. Just write them down. Right. And so you put them out. You're like, oh, here they are. And you look at them, and then you start to have to ask some questions. So you put them you might put them in the front. So the people that are closest to you, you put in your first row. Your second row, a little bit further, and then your third row. So divide them out. First row, closest, and then further back. And then you need to start to ask yourself some questions. Right? Does this relationship increase or decrease my energy after I'm in contact with them? And as you're looking at your people, you might start to need to move some people around. Right?
Ooh.
Do you feel safe with them? And I want you to really think, do you feel safe with them? That means when I tell them something, they can hold my story. When I share all of it, do I feel safe? When I go somewhere, I know that they're going. Do I feel safe? If not, you better move them back. Move them on back. Y'all move them back. I'm sorry, not sorry. Move them back. Right? Do they support your goals? Not by just saying, I got good job, you got this, right? But with their behaviors, do they support your goals? If not, move them back. Or let me tell you this, if you have someone in the other row that you like, wait a minute, they a better friend to me, or a better person, a better relationship than this other. Wow, I didn't even think about how this person has been impacting my life. Move them forward, right? And then think about what boundaries now you might need to put in place with some of those people. There's lots of other questions I can ask. I will ask one more. Is this relationship reciprocal? Is it give and take? You don't got to be the same thing, but you got to have some give and take in this relationship. If not, what you doing? Are you giving to, or are you taking? Let's be honest. Are you taking from this relationship? Then it might not be a good relationship. Let's do a little audit, right?
So this is interesting because as I was visualizing, I'm not doing it right now, obviously, but I was visualizing the exercise. And the first thing you said was keep the people, kind of line them up. And the ones that are in the first line are the ones you spend the most time with. And so I think you may automatically assume that the people you spend the most time with are the best friends, but that's not necessarily the case,
Right.
right? Depending on what's going on in your world, you could be spending a lot of time with someone who really is aligned with the parts of you you're trying to move away from.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you started your friendship, and you're still spending a ton of time and maybe even enjoying it, if we're going to be honest, because whatever you were doing it, at some point you were enjoying it, right? It made sense to you at some point. But then on the flip side of that, I thought about um, the opposite, in that maybe people you aren't spending as much time with doesn't necessarily mean that they're not a really close friend. And obviously my friends know I don't have free time.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't, and even more lately, I have seen and talked to my friends way less than usual, which I don't love, but it's just the season I'm in right now. But my friends know I'm down like four flats, right? And I also have to help them understand that I want to be friends to them, and sometimes that looks different because I am out of town a lot, because I work a lot. It's gonna look different, but that doesn't have the amount of time that I spend with them doesn't necessarily mean that they're the ones that I spend that are the best friends. And I will also say one thing that popped in my head as you're asking me, and this has become the case more and more as I've gotten older and I would say wiser. I don't really, if I spend any amount of time with you, that means that you're quality. I just don't, I don't, I don't even, again, I don't, I met someone recently and it was there was like some casual, it was a very casual, and I don't do I don't have space for casual friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we're not working towards something super intentionally, then you're not going to hear from me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I don't feel bad about that, but your questions really just brought up some, to me, not so obvious things about friendships and relationships and support, and how it relates to achieving goals. And to that point, because my friends know what I'm doing right now is a massive lift from a business perspective, I don't have to
Mm-hmm.
apologize. I mean, not
Right.
that I don't acknowledge to them, sorry I haven't been able to see you, but they understand what's going on, and they're
Mm-hmm.
not coming making my life more stressful, coming at me about how much I have or haven't called, knowing dang on well, because they are my friends, they know exactly what I'm up to, and they know exactly why they haven't seen or talked to me much.
Right. Right. I think it's important, and why I said, because it's who we give our energy to. So no matter what, that's why I asked for the type 10 people we spend time with, because we're giving energy to these people
Mm-hmm.
regardless. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's where we have to then push. I need to, because y'all know they talk about the five people you spend, they should be at your level or above. If they're not, if you're spending people with that's down here, then what we doing? That's where we're going to stay. If
Mm-hmm.
we don't, if we want to, we're talking about goals and success.
Mm-hmm.
If you're cool with where you at, stay where you at.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not, then who am I spending time with? Let me
Mm-hmm.
evaluate my circle. What does this look like? And if not, we need to think about that. Who do I need to put more in my life?
And this brings up a point, especially I feel like in the Black community and in other communities where you've grown up with folks in the struggle. It really does bring up the challenge of, folks will say, well, you forgot where you came from, you've changed. Yeah, you should have changed. It does not mean that you need to never talk to them again,
Mhm.
but if they're really doubling down on staying where they are, and you're not, you do have to have some critical conversations with yourself about what that means for you. And it
Mhm.
doesn't mean you have to never see them again, but if you're seeing folks who are literally this family and friends especially, and let's be honest, boo things, there's plenty of people who are in marriages where when you all met and got married or got committed, you were aligned, but that's not the case anymore. And because you're a good person, you're not reviewing that relationship to see if maybe it's misaligned now. And then as a result, again, it's much more easy for someone to pull someone down than it is for you to pull someone up. And so, we got a lot of folks who are really good hearted out here who I can hear in your heads now, if you're not in our DMs already. Well, I mean, you can't just leave people behind. I mean, again, we're not sitting here saying that once you get better, you just blow off everyone who's not on your level, but we are saying for folks who are not even at least in the committed space of being better and doing better, generally speaking, yeah, I mean, you can keep that good heart if you want, but please don't expect that you're going to be able to reach your highest heights if you're constantly around folks who are wanting to stay in the same place and hoping you'll stay there with them. That's just
Well,
the fact of the matter. I can only sweeten this up so much for y'all. It's just what it is.
and I will have to say, then what's your relationship with yourself? Let me
Mm,
be honest. Like we talk about relationships with everybody else, but if you don't understand you and what your relationship looks like with you, then let me do some other questions. Let me
mm,
ask some other questions. Well, that should be another series because if you don't know you and your
mm,
relationship with you, then how are you going to get the people that's supposed to be in your corner?
mm,
You can't even figure that out yet. So sometimes you got to focus on the relationship with self first. Like, what does this look like? What do I need? What all of these things. And that first off, let's change this mindset. I'm worth it. I'm
mhm,
worth people, positive people being in my life. I'm worth a supportive, significant other relationship. I am worth having friends that got my back and care about me. I am worth it because I give. I am worth it. And those are the things that you have to think about. If you are not, if your relationships ain't right,
your relationship with yourself probably isn't right. Is that okay?
yes, I mean, we're going to have to do a little
Love
evaluation.
y'all. We love y'all.
Hey,
Listen, if speaking of, if the people in your life always tell you what you want to hear and your feelings ain't never hurt, that might not be a good relationship either. Because all love includes tough love. Sometimes we
right,
all need to hear tough love. Sometimes we all need to hear the hard thing. That's where the growth is. So even as we love on y'all today, it might not feel loving, but the fact of the matter is the people in your world should be challenging you from time to time because
right,
otherwise, if your people can't be real with you, I mean, where's it going to come from? Because again, even when you do have a strong relationship with yourself and you have decent self awareness, we all get blind spots sometimes. So you've got to have people in your world who are willing to tap you lovingly and say, sis, that's not it. You
right.
know, be honest with you. You've been saying you're going to do this for 3 years. And
Mhm.
I'm just saying, I just want to understand, are you really serious about it? I want to see you grow, but I've just seen you say you're going to do something for it. That was your New Year's resolution last year. And wasn't it year before, right? Like
Mhm.
that's love. That's love, right? And so talk to us, Amber, about how to build a goal safe relationship system now that we done busted it out lovingly on the peeps.
I think there's certain scripts that you can use, right? So say you're talking to your friend and you can tell them, can you text me, once a week so I can be accountable, right? So a check-in once a week. So it helps me be accountable, right? So it's like one of those things where they're helping you. How'd that go for you? And right,
Mhm,
simple. Sometimes with our family, we have to say, keep our little distance, say, I love you, start with I love you. And y'all know I like the and I'm protecting my focus right now. I'll update you when I'm ready, right? Because
mhm.
sometimes we I love you.
They're like, we need you to come through, and you can't, right? Okay.
And then I think, when we're with our partner, one of the things we do is have to communicate with them.
Mhm,
So telling them one way you can support me is by this, letting them know what that looks like.
mhm,
Um, one thing, telling them what makes it harder. One thing that makes it harder is when you do this.
mhm.
So let them know. If you don't tell them, they don't know. And then
Listen, y'all, we got to do better on that one. It's a lot of folks assuming just
that they
do so you are reminded you are the only you in the whole world. And so I think we do tend to think that everyone else thinks like us, operates like us, hears like us, uses the words we use, and we don't. So
mm-hmm,
like, we got folks out here mad at their partner like, did you ever specifically communicate?
right.
No, they should know. Should how? Like, who's out
Right.
here reading minds and like is there a book out there? I don't think there is. So we got to be real on that one because I think sometimes we just, especially in dating relationships, for some
Yeah.
reason, I don't think women are the worst at this. If we're going to be honest, well, he should just know. if he loves me, like, come on, y'all. Like, let's be real. I mean, that's Disney straight up. I'm sure somebody did that in a movie, but in real life, not so much.
Right, right.
Mm. All right. What about coworkers, Amber?
I think really just being clear with your coworkers. You might tell them, I'm keeping my goals this quarter or this year simple. Just making sure you're clear and direct. Don't pity pat around it. Just be clear and direct, right? Because you don't want room for assumptions.
Mm,
Make it clear and direct. Let them know what's happening, right?
yeah. So, this is, ooh, I feel like this is one of those conversations, which I feel like a lot of things are, if we think about it. Like, life it can feel hard, but it's really not rocket science. But I think we just get to moving so fast that we forget. And so, if nothing else, hopefully this conversation was a reminder. Um, as we think about growth and goals and relationships and just thinking about who's on the team, who's not,
Mm-hmm.
I think growth reveals who's aligned, not who's attached.
Can I get a snap, snap, or no,
Yeah.
whatever?
The young people taught us we clock it. Are you clocking?
Right.
Right. So like, because attachment is like, I like being in your world, it's fun around you, or you're the one who buys all the drinks. Everybody who knows me knows I have a tendency for that, right? But when you're growing, that means you're changing. That also means sometimes you're not available because you actually on the grind. And it's not clean and messy, or it's not clean and beautiful all the time. Sometimes it's messy. And so if folks are attached, then then it's an unhealthy thing where they're not going to feel right when you're in a growth stage or you're not how you used to be.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're aligned, they're going to shift with you. Even if they're not on the same trajectory you are, they're
Right.
going to shift with you and be like, oh, like, for example, Amber is making some adjustments in her eating as a result of some health things she's going through. So as her friend, we used to love going to eat at a chicken spot together. This is so stereotypical for Black History Month, but it's what it is. Well, that's not a food she can have anymore at this time. We're going to say for this time because we're holding out hope that that's just temporary. Anyway, as a result, I'm adjusting with her, right? So we're trying to figure out what our new favorite restaurant or our new favorite move is going to be because I was super embedded into our friendship. And
Mm-hmm.
so if I was attached, I would just be like, oh, she can't do the thing that I love and I can still do. I'm going to fall out. But if we're really aligned, I'm going to find a way to meet her where she is. So that's just an example. And that's real life, real time. This is literally in the last few weeks we've had this discussion. And then lastly, I just want to say that, I'm always the one on the grind side of things about getting stuff done, about being productive. But I do want to note that while we've pushed about goals, because that's what we're talking about today, and that's what we're about in Achieve Global, I do want to speak to the fact that sometimes winning from within, which is what this segment is all about, looks like choosing peace over performance, which means sometimes the friendship or the relationship that helps you is to say, sis, you probably need to check down for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're telling your friend or loved one or boo thing that you need to check down, and they're like, yeah, because I've noticed that you're off balance lately and you seem to be really struggling. And
Right.
so while we're talking about getting it done and the importance of having quality relationships that help you get it done and get your goals achieved, we are always talking about winning from within everywhere, and certainly on this segment because that's what it's all about. And so I do want to remind us of that. So that said, Amber, we always wrap up with our win from within. What do we take from today that will kind of remind it of, or a new aha as it relates to relationships and their meaning in value in you reaching your goals?
I think one of the things is I don't have to shrink my goals to keep my relationships.
Mm,
Um, I have to elevate my relationships to match my goals.
mm.
And so my win within is to choose alignment over approval.
Ooh, Choose alignment over approval.
Yep.
Dang, girl. We should just hang up now. That was everything. Choose alignment over approval. Can you say a little more about what that means for you? That's deep.
I don't need approval. I need somebody that's aligning with where I'm going in life.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Ooh, girl. I feel like we can do a whole session on that. Am I supposed to know? Oh, that was so deep. I had to recover. Okay, let me think about what mine was. Mm, what's standing out to me in this call is, as of late, I've been working. I mean, I work a lot in general, but it's been the go hard is go harder right now,
Mm-hmm.
and I have just seen. I do have some newer relationships of friendships and colleagues who are in my life who have really been pushing me about, girl, like about your health though, right? And it's something I've been working on. Any of our other sessions or recordings that you all have listened to, you've heard me talk about it, but it's just really on my mind even more. And so my win from within really is to ask. I need to be asking my friends, colleagues, and family who are in my world to maybe lean in a little further and harder on me, give me a little more tough love, which they've been doing, but I didn't ask. So I wanna ask them to continue that and make sure I'm expressing appreciation for it, because I do need it, right? Like for me, I will always get the goal stuff done because that's just my natural state as it relates to goals to do with business, career, finance. However, health sometimes is more of a challenge. So that's my winning from within that I'm taking from today, is just to ask those folks to lean in more and collaborate with me more on my goal of being well physically as I'm continuing to elevate professionally. So
All right. I love it. I'm gonna ask you right now. How's that water going, ma'am? There we go. There we go. See, let me get some of that water in. Okay.
thank you,
There we
friend. Thank you, friend. All right, y'all. So thank you for joining us this month, and always remember, relationships really do shape your resilience. They are important to your success, just from the accountability and support alone. And your environment, which is both your physical environment and your energetic environment, which means the peeps, really influence your energy, which you absolutely need energy
Right.
to complete any goal. So just remember to protect your circle. Make sure your circle is protecting you. Nurture the right connections, and relationships. See, I'm drinking water. And build the kind of relationships that help you rise.
Yes.
Also, a reminder, if you would like to talk more about this and get some tips and tricks, you can see Amber on March 3rd at 7:30 Eastern for our well-being connection connection session for Black and Brown peeps who are elevating in their goals. You can find more information about that on achieve.global and go to our Black Community Ambassadors page. So you'll see it as BCASP. Also, next month, I know you guys probably heard I talked to you about coaching within Achieve Global and how Amber, as well as some other ladies, all increased their revenue and or salaries as a result of the work that we did together. And I'm sure you want to know more about that. So we will be coming back at you next month to have an opportunity to hear directly from those ladies. And we will be opening up a new cohort in which we'll be bringing some more folks in hopes to get them the same results. So if you want to learn more about Achieve Global, visit us at achieve.global. Otherwise, we will see you all next month. Take care, go forth, be great. And again, happy Black History Month. See y'all
Yes.
soon.